Can we all just admit that the devil is out to corrupt children? Now, if you aren't a Christian like I am, that might have sounded a bit crazy. Even if you don't believe in the devil, though, I think it can be agreed that there have been some strange things targeted at children in the last decade or so. One place where I see this happen a lot is in the movies, and the movies are my forte, so I'm going to talk about it. I decided that I wanted to make this video after watching a couple of new trailers for the upcoming movies Shrek 5 and Hexed. I found both trailers to be wildly concerning for two very different reasons. I'll come back to them, but I want to set up some groundwork. Fresh out of the pandemic, when movies were trying to make a comeback in theaters, Disney released a bunch of films with some forced ideologies in their animated movies, primarily revolving around the concept of same-sex couples in films like Lightyear and Strange World, and other topics like rebellion and spiritual connections in movies like Turning Red and Wish. Almost all of these movies ended up failing among some other films with over-the-top extreme woke agendas, and the studios decided to course correct. They released a bunch of family-safe, and for the most part quality movies that ended up being successes, such as Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Galaxy, The Wild Robot, Inside Out 2, Zootopia 2, Goat, and Hoppers, to name a few good ones in recent memory. I've been really enjoying the majority of animated family films as of late, and was excited to see a comeback from Disney and Pixar after Hoppers and Zootopia 2. However, the horizon doesn't look great for Disney, DreamWorks, or Illumination, I'm afraid. For starters, and probably the least concerning, is Minions and Monsters. This film is going into a lot of tropes taken from the monster movie genre, but my concern is that the method as seen in the trailers that the Minions use to summon the monsters looks way too occultish and literally like a satanic ritual, and it's being played out for laughs. The nude humor, although nothing new for the Minions, also looks like it might be going a bit too far and a little bit inappropriate for children. And it's a real shame. Despicable Me and Minions are a big part of my childhood, and while there was occasionally some inappropriate butt humor and other things, it was pretty much guaranteed to be a kid-friendly film. If I had children, I would not allow them to go see this new Minion movie. Next is Shrek 5. A new trailer dropped for this film, and it's kind of terrible. There's a lot that I could say from a critical standpoint, but just from a morality standpoint, it looks like the film is going for an excessively edgy and inappropriate vibe. Almost as if it doesn't understand what the point of the edginess in the earlier films was about in the first place. All of the inappropriate jokes in this trailer seem in very bad taste, like they're trying to relate to the humor of today's generation without understanding them either. We've got Gingy twerking, we've got a crackhead, potentially gay snowman making advances at what seems to be Donkey. We have almost as much swearing in this trailer as in the entire first Shrek film, and on top of it all, Donkey is just way too over the top and annoying, even more so than he has ever been. It just seems like the creators didn't understand what made these characters like Donkey so charming and endearing before, and they opted to make this film as inappropriate and edgy as possible, and once again, I would not take children to see it. Finally, that brings us to the big one, Disney's Hexed. Now, Hexed is about a girl who discovers that she has magical powers and is then brought to a magical place called Hexed, where people learn how to become witches. It's basically Disney's version of Harry Potter, and depending on who you are, even among Christian circles, this could be a bad thing or a perfectly fine thing. I think that there is a fine line to be made when witches are present in works of fiction. In a case like The Wizard of Oz and Wicked, I think that the witches are so fantasized and beyond reality that the term witch in those movies simply means magic user, and in those stories magic is not inherently evil, aka witchcraft, and due to the rules of magic in those stories, you can have good witches and bad witches, and in my opinion, it's just fantasy and not to be compared to witchcraft as discussed in the Bible. In Harry Potter, it gets much closer to reality and the line gets a little bit wavy. While the magic or witchcraft in Harry Potter is almost entirely fake and fantastical, it does draw inspiration from real world sources of sorcery in certain parts and takes place in the real world as we know it. However, the creators of Harry Potter didn't center these stories around the witchcraft. The witchcraft and wizardry is used as a world building tool to make the world seem more immersive and full of wonder and fantasy. While I think we as Christians should be discerning about the way the devil tries to make evil look good, at the core of Harry Potter is universal messages about self-sacrifice, friendship, finding your place in a new environment, the responsibilities of and what it means to be unique and chosen for a higher purpose. And based on the rules that these stories establish, the main story is that of good versus evil, even if from a Christian perspective anything to do with witchcraft is evil, even in a fantasy world. I definitely think that a Christian can watch Harry Potter and it not be a sin, but I believe that we have to be very careful that we don't allow things like that to change our view on the true evil of witchcraft, especially when it comes to children and protecting children's hearts and minds from things like witchcraft. Hence why I think Disney's Hexed could be a dangerous portal for children to be introduced into accepting and wanting to dabble in witchcraft, New Age related spirituality, and things of that nature. I have a hunch that the witchcraft in Hexed is going to play a huge part in the main character's journey of self-discovery, and that what she discovers is that she is a full-blown witch, and that she is going to embrace that as a good thing, even if those around her, like her mother, think it's wrong. One line that the main character says in the trailer is that, "Maybe there's nothing wrong with me at all. Maybe I'm meant for something more." Now, this is a popular message that Disney especially likes to preach. The idea that we are perfect the way we are and that we should embrace the ugly, bad, and harmful parts of ourselves and use them to pave our way forward. This was a big theme in Pixar's movie Turning Red, and I'm afraid this movie, Hexed, might repeat some of these negative messages with the added factor that the main character is literally a witch in training and is embracing this fact as her identity. The Bible says that rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and rebellion has been a big part of Disney's messages for a little while in the past, and I'm afraid that they are going to take that to a whole new level with this one. Unfortunately, anyone who is not a Christian or in a religion that preaches against witchcraft will probably just see this movie as a fun fantasy film just like Harry Potter or any other fantasy. The movie itself does look like it will be a fun time. It's got beautiful animation and fantasy locations, a likable protagonist voiced by the extremely talented Haley Steinfeld, and what looks to be an emotional core to the story and the mother-daughter relationship. It has all of the foundations of a fun holiday family film, but I fear its intention under the surface is much darker. In almost every other Disney movie, the people who use witchcraft, dark magic, voodoo, or who were witches were always the villain. Now Disney is trying to flip that idea on its head and make the witches the good guys. And maybe some of the witches will be bad in this movie. But it's a complete subversion and rebrand of what they are used to portraying, and I think if this movie is a success, that it will set a new precedent where Disney will continue to try and make the powers of darkness seem like a good thing, and it will go right under everyone's nose and desensitize the children into accepting satanic things as good. To end on a more positive note, I do really like fantasy and I love animated movies. I think that when used right, fantasy can be used allegorically, metaphorically, thematically, and in a number of other ways to portray certain messages that the storytellers want to get across. Fortunately for me, there is a new stop-motion fantasy film coming out later this year, made by Laika, called Wildwood, and boy does it look good. The trailer came out about a month ago and it looks absolutely amazing. It appears to have magic, strange creatures, and possibly even witches in it. However, all of these elements seem to be in their proper place. The possible witch seems to be evil and creepy. The creatures are simply part of this world and aren't summoned by some occultish ritual. And the material seems mature and clean, not immature and crude. The message and story also appear as if it will be straightforward and inspiring. The main character in the trailer doesn't make a self-centered statement about embracing herself and not having any problems, but rather telling an ominous-looking woman that she doesn't want any part in her fairy tale, that all she wants is her lost brother back. The trailer looks grand in scale and beautiful in the details, and I can't wait for it. I really hope that Wildwood makes a huge wave at the box office, and that as much as I'm sure a lot of really nice and talented people worked on Hexed, I hope that movie flops and sends another message to Disney to stop trying to force propaganda from the devil into their movies that are made to be supposed to be appropriate for children. I am Luke Film Boss. Thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think, and please suggest what kind of videos you would like me to make going forward. I hope y'all really enjoyed this video. Bye.